down everything, my dude. What are you talking about? I'm asking you what are the differences? You just said a black woman, a white woman in the suburbs, and a black woman in the ghetto. We know there's gonna be differences. So a woman in a trailer park is gonna look the same as a white woman in a trailer park is gonna look the same as a white woman in the suburbs.
Can I comment on this?
Yeah, go ahead, do your thing.
What's up, Anton?
What's going on,
Thanks
bro?
for having me on, bro. I had to come in and show love because you showed me love, and I don't forget those that show support, man.
I
So I figured
appreciate
I'd come in
it.
here real quick. So what I'm about to say does not represent any of the members of the panel, so I'm just going to be very honest and blunt about what I'm about to say because it might be offensive. The reality is most women are retarded, okay? And the reality about this that guys need to understand when I say that most women are retarded is that the software is always the same. The hardware is what's different, whether the skin color, the cultural background, whatever. The hardware is always the same. Sorry, the software is always the same. The hardware might be different. So the only real difference, right, sometimes is cultural situations, background, the way they grew up, etc., will maybe dictate their mannerisms, the way they behave, and what they're trying to do. But at the end of the day, all women are trying to do the same thing, which is do what? Get the best man that they can get based on their education level, socioeconomic level, where they stand socioeconomically. And that's just kind of how it goes. Now, different races and different cultures obviously go about it in different ways, right? We can look at a lot of black women. They're attracted to the thug type. They're attracted to men that exude masculine characteristics, though they might be more, reminiscent of like being a criminal because these are traits that women look for in a lot of situations. Or it could be, the white girl who's looking for a guy who has some money and some status and has some bad boy tendencies, but, has some status alongside it. So every race goes about it in different ways, but the reality is women are all looking for the same type of guy. The way they go about it might be differently because hypergamy, extends regardless of, what a woman's race is. Just so happens that they go about it in different ways, but the reality is that women are always going to fall to hypergamy.
Do you think that it do you think that it changes based off of culture or race? So like for example,
Sure.
What Paul Pierce saying that a lot of NBA players, because see my opinion of it when Paul Pierce said that a lot of NBA players or athletes go for white women, I think that a lot of NBA players that I've met has just been goofy. Like a lot of them are young, a lot of them haven't necessarily lived long enough. A lot of them get resources, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they understand the dynamics of women. A lot of times they just get with women based off of what's available, and a lot of them are at their hotel rooms or a lot of them at the hotel before they even show up. Do you think that the cultural differences also yield different results when it comes to women? And I'm not even just talking about athletes. I'm talking about great men in general. Do you think that the cultural differences or the race plays a role in whether or not men are attracted to them, or do you just think that it's culture by itself and the type of men that women go after?
I mean, it's such a multitude of different things. Like if we're going to talk about NBA players, right? For example, just as the first one. So a lot of these guys play college first. When you're in college, a lot of the times you're in a white dominant, situation where you're an athlete, you're Division I athlete. I could say this from experience from being Division I athlete myself. Like the women are going to just gravitate towards the D1 athletes, and then when you're a basketball player or a football player at a Division I school, you're kind of at the top of the pecking order from a social status perspective. So what ends up happening is, let's say you did come from an inner city, you were the top guy, then you go to a big Division I school, you're not seeing Shaniqua and LaQuisha anymore. You're seeing, Becky and and a
Fucking
bunch of other white
Jennifer.
girls from Midwest. So like your thing switches, and men, we like variety. So since men like variety, this is something different that I'm not used to. Oh, I'm gonna go with this. And what ends up happening a lot of times is these guys will get a girl in college, and that girl will kind of follow them along. And then, they might have that chick as a woman that was with them when they were playing sports, or they might find a girl once they get into league or whatever. But what I've realized is like with men, it just comes down to variety. I don't think men care so much about, everyone has their preferences, of course, but I think what men care about the most is like, is this girl going to be submissive, not be a pain in the ass? Because a lot of times when men make money and they acquire status, they acquire that money and status, and the first thing they do is get rid of problematic women a lot of the times, right? Because you don't make that kind of money and you don't get that level of status and want to come back and deal with a woman that's going to sit there and argue with you. Like the dumbest thing that women say is like, oh, yeah, you don't want a woman that challenges you? No, you dumb whore. Like, no, thank you. We got to go out and fight the world. Last thing I want to do is come back and argue with a woman. And this is one of the biggest misconceptions that women actually push out there saying, don't you want a woman to challenge you? And this is like propaganda from like the 2000s of Neo saying, I want a woman who wants her own, independent woman, whatever, blah, 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 which we've been indoctrinated to believe these lies. We've been pushing this like whole independent woman thing and a woman that can earn on her own for literally the better part of a couple of decades. And guess what happens? Neo lied to everybody. What is he doing now? He has like 2 or 3 girlfriends that he supports. This whole independent woman thing is a lie. Beyonce, oh yeah, I could find another you in a minute. What's she doing? Jay-Z cheats on her? She's still there. So it's all cap. It's all a lie. So I think it's really important for people to kind of like deprogram from like what's been pushed, especially in the Black community, when it comes to like, I want a strong independent woman and any of this stuff. That's not what men are looking for. Like, and rest in peace to Kevin Samuels, because he brought this to light more, especially in the Black community, kind of like indoctrinating women, like trying to deprogram women with the indoctrination of like, your career, your status, your title. Men really don't care about these things. And the more money and resources they acquire, the less they care about it. So that's kind of what it comes down to. I think a lot of it comes down to the women are available because of their proximity to, access to women, being a college athlete. They acquire more money and resource, which, is obviously going to put them in position with these women. And then just really what it comes down to is who's available, who's hot, and who's not going to be a pain in the ass. If these things line up, a lot of the times they're going to go with the chick, is what I've realized.
Yeah, I agree with that. What do you think about a lot of the women that are being or getting upset at the fact that he is stating this, that it is true, and that a lot of guys are divesting themselves from the type of women that they originally had available to them once they start to get resources and they become more successful?
Yeah, no, I agree with that, man. I can't tell you how many times, because here's the thing, right? Like, you don't know what you don't know, right? So like, let's say you're growing up in the hood, right? And all you've dealt with is like, ratchet women that are kind of rough around the edges. And like, you've been indoctrinated to think like you should be accepting this. Like, this is great. Cool. You'll deal with it for a bit, but then you get some money and status, and then you date an Asian girl. She ain't talking back to you. She rubs your feet without you asking. She's making you food. You know what I mean? She's bringing you around her Chinese friends and stuff like that. You're walking into the, to the grocery store. Niggas aren't telling you hurry up and buy no more. You're like, damn, this feels kind of nice. So what ends up happening, right? Like, okay, this is nice. Like, I've never experienced this before. And when you get this different treatment, you're like, damn, I can't go back to LaQuisha now. I'm not trying to argue with her. I like Ling Ling. Ling Ling loves me a long time and she don't argue with me. And this is what ends up happening a lot of the times with guys is like, you don't know what you don't know until you experience it. So when they get this money, they get the status, they get access to it, you can't go backwards. So that's what's happening a lot of the times with these guys that get some status. Like you just put around women that kind of know their place just off of the imbalance of your status and your income. They know to shut the fuck up and know what it is. So women just naturally know this stuff. But when they know that they have more status than you, they got more money than you, and they could talk back to you, they're going to do it. But once you reach a certain level of status, women start to be quiet, and it's fantastic.
What about the guys that get finessed? So, like, for example, I know that it's a lot of women that make the adjustment because they know that they're around a certain type of guy. And then Q Diddy, you can jump in too, but I just got this one last question. What about the guys that wind up getting finessed?
That's the biggest problem. And this happens so much. I mean, me and you have seen it, Anton, probably like in this sphere on, with celebrities every single time, especially with young guys that have a lot of money that like that trick or do some other stuff, especially like on these OnlyFans girls, because like it's a cool thing now to get with these e-thoughts. So that's the biggest problem for guys that have some influence and some status. And this is why it's so important to be like red pill aware, especially when you got some money and status. Like you have to be even more on point because you have way more to lose. I mean, look at what's going on right now with Shannon Sharp. Like, this is wild, right? But he should have kind of known that this chick being an OF girl, because I guarantee you, like a chick like this, you offer a girl 10 million, most girls would have taken that deal. You know what it is? He promised her a dream and she didn't get it. So now she's going to burn down the house with everything because the vitriol at which she's going at him and how she's trying to make this public and tarnish his name in the process, whilst hurting her own reputation, by the way. Like the fact that she's going so hard tells me that he made some promises to her, like, oh, you're going to be the one, I love you, blah, blah, blah. They're in a long-term relationship, so they probably had some kind of serious talks. So I think like what's going on with that situation is he made some promises, he's not keeping them, and now she's pissed off.
What was you about to say, Quentin?
I was raising my hand to the guy that gets finessed.
Oh, you get finessed?
I have been.
I think it's a part of the journey though. Like every single guy has taken it out, whether you were nice to a girl that didn't deserve it, you courted a girl too much, you got stuck in the friend zone. I think every guy has been finessed by a woman, and it's good because it teaches you because like when men, guys have to like get their, what I've noticed with men, especially from coaching thousands of men, I'll tell them, yo, don't do this. They'll still do it anyway. And then they'll come back to me and say, damn, you were right. And then it makes that learning lesson much more potent because now they felt the burn and they're like, all right, I can, you warned me and I felt it. It's one thing for you to tell them. It's another thing for them to find out as well. And it makes it that much stronger. So a lot of guys, they got to get burned by women. Very few guys like can learn from others and not make that mistake versus most guys have to make that mistake to learn for real a lot of the times, unfortunately.
Do you think that it's best that guys get burned early? Because it seems like once guys get resources and get money, that it really becomes an issue.
Yeah,
and I'm not
I
sure if
think
they
early.
learned the lesson.
I think early. Once you get money and resources, then she's playing for keeps. Like this girl right now going after Shannon Sharp, she's playing for keeps. So it's like, and they have an incentive to do so. When you're broke and you're a nobody, like, are they incentivized to go after you as hard? Probably not. Then maybe they'll embarrass you in the neighborhood. Oh yeah, weirdo, blah blah blah. That's cool. You can move and be fine. But when you got some money and your resources, and this is why it's so bad for young guys. Oh, dude. The young guys that like aren't red pill aware and get some money and status, they get cooked the worst. It's better for you to almost like be broke, make these mistakes as you're coming up, then get the money, understand women, and then you're in a much more, you're in a much better position because then you can mitigate the risk, or you already know how to deal with certain women off of how they come at you. You're like, oh yeah, this girl's a thought, I gotta deal with her this way. Okay, this girl, I can maybe let her in a little bit, but like you get that wisdom from failing, and you gotta fail it. You almost gotta fail when you're broke because you kind of see how you see the real side of females. Like when you don't have all your stuff together, you don't have money like that yet. You really get to see like the dark side of hypergamy. And I think men need to be exposed to that to see how callous and how cold women can really be when they're not interested in you. Because I truly think like women are much more cold-blooded than men are, way more, especially when they're not interested. Their interest in men drop off precipitously way faster. They're more likely to end relationships. They're more likely to break your heart without you even knowing about it because they broke up with you 6 months. They've already been plotting the breakup. So like with women, I think men need to experience that because this kind of insulates you from making those mistakes later on when it's going to cost you significantly more money.
What do you say about the chat saying that you can't pull a black woman?
I would say, why would I? Why would I? You could have them, bro.
Why wouldn't you?
They could have them, man. I'm not competing for LaQuisha. You guys can have them, man.
Well, every black woman ain't LaQuisha. What you mean?
Look, I say that's look, I'm fucking around. But the when they say dumb shit like that, oh, you can't pull a black woman, like that's just like cope a lot of the times because they're saying what that really. Let me decode the stupidity for you. When people say dumb shit like that, translation, you're not willing to tolerate the bad behavior that naturally comes with a lot of black women. Because let's be honest, let's deal with the stereotypes here, right? I'm an open racist towards everybody. Let's deal with the black stereotypes. Black women are fat, loud, crass, annoying, have attitudes, and they don't respect male authority. There's a bunch of reasons for this, but I'll go over simply. The average black woman weighs 187 pounds. A lot of them are grow up in a single mother household where they're told every single day, niggas ain't shit. There is no patriarch in the family a lot of the times. This is just what goes on. Then when you listen to the rap music, what are they saying? Fuck niggas, get money, blah, blah, blah. It's just shitting on black men all day. And then the black men that are in their life a lot of the times, not every single time, but a lot of the times, they're criminals, they're fathers that weren't there, they're crooks, and it's just like a never-ending cycle where there's no real patriarch in the household. And then on top of that, you know, we since women, a lot of black women grow up without men in the house, they end up becoming extremely masculine. Now, this is fantastic when it comes to survival, getting a job, making your way through life, but this is terrible when it comes to attracting masculine men. Masculine men don't want masculine women in return. That would make you probably more than likely gay if you're attracted to yourself, right? And I always use the analogy because whenever
That's your lane, Molly.
Because here's the thing with black women, right? They'll sit there and they'll say, "Oh, you can't handle me," and I'll say, "Why the fuck should I?" Because let me tell you this: if you went up to a black woman, and you said, "Hey, look, I like to wear heels on Saturdays," she'll be like, "Ew, what the fuck?" She'd curve you, rightfully so. That's weird. But why is it that we're supposed to accept masculine black women when they would never accept feminine black men? They never would. So why the hell should I accept a woman that behaves like a man when she would never accept me for behaving like a woman? And this is the insane double standard where they'll sit there and say, you need to expect me the way that I accept me the way that I come, but women never accept us the way that we come. We have to self-improve. Why don't they have to self-improve? So when they say dumb shit like that, saying, oh, you can't handle a black woman, or why don't you date them? What that really means is, why are you not dealing with the stereotypical, loud, obnoxious, crass, rude black woman? And I'm saying no, because I don't want to date myself. So if I've dated a black woman before that are polite, feminine, not fat, respectful, speak proper English, they say ask instead of acts, like all these things. And that's what I like. So if I'm going to be around that, great. I don't really care about skin color like that. I have a preference. It just so happens that a lot of the times black women don't adhere to these preferences because they're indoctrinated to have this mindset of, let me challenge a man, let me be rambunctious, let me go ahead and chase a career and basically be the man that I want to get. And I'm not with that.
That's
How do
fair.
you feel? How do you feel about that, Kim?
I agree with a lot of what he said. I've said before, I don't think that, just in general, we'll even speak on black women because that's who he's talking about. I don't think that black women are taught to be wives. Whereas, this black woman, if she's going to college to get her degree, these white girls were taught to be wives. They were taught to look for a man to take care of them. They were taught to look for husbands. They're going to college to look for a husband. They're going to be more submissive. They're going to be more passive because they're playing the long game.
And you want to hear something crazy too? It's funny? The white girls be the biggest hoes. I be warning people with these college educated white girls. Like if they join a sorority and shit like that, I tell guys all the time, like, bro, you also don't want to wife up a whore. So like, winds up happening a lot of times with black women because black women typically only want to be, black women are very narrow in what they like a lot of the times. They prefer black men overwhelmingly. But the problem on the black male side is black men will take whatever, right? So that's kind of the issue where you run into a problem with a lot of black women. Also, black women tend to favor looks a lot more than other races. Which is, I guess, maybe a masculine trait. But black women tend to be more interested in the way that they dress, the way they conduct themselves, the way they look, etc. Like it's very interesting how I've noticed that with black women, they tend to be the race that is very interested in the way a man looks, which is fine. You can have your preferences, but what the problem with that is it dilutes the marketplace of men that you are going to open yourself up to. And when black women go to college and they educate themselves, etc., they kind of bring that percentage down even more so as they climb up the ranks. But like with white girls, you're right. They go to college. They're looking for a husband while they're there in school a lot of times, because a lot of times they don't even want to work their shitty ass, HR job that they end up getting. But they end up being hoes a lot of the times, if we're going to be honest. So that's another thing that I tell guys to watch out for when it comes to the white girls, because every every group of women has their stereotypes that guys got to look out for.
Carrie, what do you
He
think?
ain't lying.
Carrie, what do you think about the narrative between black, white cultural norms, black women not necessarily being taught to look for husbands, all of that type of stuff? What do you think about everything that's being communicated in a general sense?
I agree with a lot of what he just said. I don't know if it's that women are not necessarily being taught to be wives per se, as much as taught to be wives that men want. Because everybody is not taught to go be an independent woman void of a man. Like some women are genuinely taught to go marry, but they're also taught to have a career at the same time. They're taught to have kids, but they're taught to go get an education. They're not taught to not be a wife, but they're also not necessarily taught to prioritize being a wife. They're not necessarily taught the characteristics that a husband that they want would actually be looking for.
So
because everybody doesn't come from a broken home either. I mean, I know a lot, we say that a lot, and I'm not downing the numbers on it, but everybody doesn't come from a broken home. A lot of people have a 2-parent example, but they might not necessarily know how to be the wife
I
that they
would
want
say
the husband
it's not
for.
just a black issue. It's a whole U.S. issue. The nuclear family has been destroyed, and there's a bunch of reasons for that. Feminism, etc., has been, I think, one of the biggest problems when it comes to degradation of the nuclear family. But what I will say is, because you mentioned a good point, that women, they're told to go to school and pursue. And I would say, right, if someone wanted to lose weight, right, and they truly wanted to change their body, they would have to change everything about their lifestyle. They'd have to start going to sleep 8 to 10 hours a night. They'd have to prioritize going to the gym. They would have to change their entire lifestyle around to be able to achieve that goal. Here's the problem. We tell women that they can kind of live their life the way that they want, and there's going to be a good man at the end waiting for them. And the problem is, if you want a guy to take care of you, well, then you need to be in a position where you're prioritizing finding that guy. Because the days of, and this is kind of the conundrum of feminism, right? So, what feminism effectively did was it gave women the autonomy to pursue a career, make their own money, and become successful and be on their own. But what that also did was it ostracizes the average man from the dating and relationship marketplace, because women will never admit this, but I'll say it for you guys. There's nothing worse for a woman than settling on a guy that she feels that she could do better than, right? And what ends up happening is with a lot of average men, 5'8", making 30 to 50K per year, a lot of women see better than that in America. Even average looking women feel that they could do better than that, right? There's nothing worse than an average guy to a majority of women. So what women do is they'll go to school, they'll pursue an education, they'll become successful. And what they're hoping is that there's going to be a guy more successful, more attractive, more ambitious than her at the end of that road. But what she's effectively done, because she's become average herself or better than average, is she's just now ostracized a majority of men
Just push
that
them
would have been
away.
a great candidate for her before. But feminism has made it where women are told not to settle, become independent. But you got to ask yourself, who are they independent of? Independent of? They're independent of men. We don't walk around and say, "Oh, we're strong and independent." You guys will laugh at us like, "What the fuck is wrong with y'all niggas?" But we run around and we praise women for being independent all the time. But we don't ask ourselves, independent of who? It's of men. Of which men in particular? The majority, aka the average man. Most women are chasing the same small 10 percentile of guy. 6 foot plus, 100K per year, good career, charming, love dogs, asshole, but at the same time, a nice guy. Like, they're looking for something that's very difficult to find in one guy. So when you made the topic like, hey, women are told to go, get their money, but at the same time also kind of be a wife. The problem is that for the caliber of guy that they're looking for, right? Ironically enough, they need to prioritize finding a husband. But the problem is that they're pursuing a career so much that they don't have the time and a lot of the times interest to even pursue this guy. Like, and this is another controversial take, and I'll say this real quick, and I'd love to get the ladies' take on this. I say all the time, women lack empathy. Okay, they have sympathy, but they don't have empathy, and I explain what I mean by this. So men, we understand innately that we need to go out there and improve ourselves, make money, get some status, etc., so that we could be a catch. We understand that we're a bum working at McDonald's. We ain't getting no bitches. We accept this reality. Women, though, however, I notice don't understand this. I'll give you an example. A girl will open up an Instagram, have pictures of herself all over the internet being a thought. She'll go pursue a career. She'll do a bunch of twerking stuff on the internet. She'll wear weird weaves. She'll do all this kind of crazy stuff, right? And what'll happen is she'll do all this, not knowing that, like, men, though they might look at you from an attraction standpoint, they're not actually wanting to take you seriously. And this is what I mean when I say women lack empathy. They kind of know what men like, but they don't know what men are actually attracted to and want to commit to. And that's where the disconnect happens. So what's up happening is they get with a guy, they know how to kind of get the guy just by existing, but it's very difficult for them to keep the guy. And this comes from this lack of training where women are prioritizing career and not necessarily not just attracting the guy, but keeping him long term. And this is where so many women fail, because any girl can get a guy. That's not the hard part. The hard part is, can you get a guy that you actually like and get him to commit to you? And this is where women fail because they lack empathy. And what I mean by empathy is they don't understand men. We have to understand women to attract them. Women don't have to understand us to attract us, because all y'all got to do is be available, look kind of hot, and we'll come talk to you. Like, and we have to do all the work in the beginning. Well, but where women fail is they don't do the work after the guy puts in the work to attract her to retain that guy. That's where a lot of women make the mistake and aren't really able to keep the things. And this is why I'm saying, like, the education system and us women prioritizing their success has overrode their ability to retain men, if that makes sense.
What do you think about that, Mika and Molly?
Oh no, he's 100% correct. I mean, that's exactly what my father always taught me. So he's absolutely correct. And then, the women, anytime, and we've talked about this tons of times on this panel, anytime the women are, how in a belief mindset that, I have, they'll call it pick me, they'll call it you're trying to, you know, follow the man and everything. And if you say yes, because that's literally what I was taught, then it's, okay, well, it's always something bad. It's always something downtrodden. And he's gonna leave. What if he leaves? What if he does this? What if he does that? It's never looking at it from the standpoint of trying to have a family unit. Everything is a risk, right? But it seems like in today's society with feminism, If you prioritize this, then if this happens, at least you have a job, at least you have a degree, at least you have, money. It's not prioritized as it may be a risk, but at the end of the day, you may have a family.
And here's the other thing too. I really want to bring to light what you just said, because what you just said is extremely important with the concept of calling women pick me's, right? This is a very pernicious cycle that I've noticed in modern women, where they'll see women doing what's required to actually attract a man, like whether it's being super submissive, being super nice, listening to their man, dressing the way that their man wants, cooking for him or whatever. They're doing these like traditional roles. And I don't know what it is, but like women look at this and it's like their knee-jerk to reaction to say, oh, you're a pick-me. Oh, you're being caved in by your man. Like this girl right now is literally going viral. Emily Saves America. She's supposed to be a conservative, and she talks about, hey, well, you should probably still get a job. You should still get a hobby, blah, blah, blah. And that goes against conservatism. And that's why I say a lot of these women that are conservatives are really undercover feminists, because what they're doing is they're teaching women this pernicious cycle you just mentioned with this whole don't be a pick me or whatever, because we have an entire society that tells women, hey, don't do anything for the express consent for a man. You need to put yourself first, not knowing that if you actually want to keep a guy first, you actually have to put yourself second. Your job is the aid, the assistant, the helpmate, because when a man is put forward, when we win, you win by extension. But if we put the woman forward and the woman wins, what ends up happening is the woman's like, I don't need this nigga. Like, his job is to provide for me. I'm the one providing. This is why I tell guys all the time, you got to be the leader, and the girl's got to like you more than you like her. Because since women are the ones used to being pursued, the only time they're going to respect the man is when they're finally pursuing, because they never do that. So that's how they're able to distinguish, do I got a winner or a loser? Am I following him or is he following me? Because this whole like, I'm going to build my wife up, I'm going to move for her and her career. I tell guys, never do that, because when you do that, what you've inadvertently done is you've given her the frame and the leadership role in the relationship. And though women will sit there and say, I want to be equal partner, what I've realized is their actions never actually reflect that. They want you to be the leader. They want you to dictate the terms. And the biggest way for that to happen is by her kind of submitting to and having this pick me thing that a lot of women use. But whenever I see women say it, put it this way, ladies, if girls are calling you a pick me, you're doing something very right. Do not listen to the feminist propaganda that tries to almost like, when men insult each other and emasculate each other, like when women tell each other that, oh, you're a pick me, or you're an idiot for following a man, or you're stupid, or you could do better. That's all shaming language to keep you from having a man. One of the biggest things, and I'll end with this. This guy, his name is something Desire. Oh my God, I can't remember now sorry guys, I've been streaming for like 8 hours. Long story short, the truth Desire, something like that. He interviewed a divorce attorney, is the main bottom line here. And he asked the divorce attorney, she's a female divorce attorney, hey, who initiates most of the divorces and why? And she said something that I've been saying for years, and I thought it was awesome because it finally vindicated me. She said the women initiate the divorces, and a big reason why they do it is because they get talking to their girlfriends, and their girlfriends put shit in their ear. And it's back to that cycle you just mentioned with pick me, you do everything for him, blah, 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 all this other stuff. And women will see other girls happy with a guy in a good relationship, and they'll try to ruin that and be like, why are you with him? You could do better. Oh, he has Sim. Oh, look, he's controlling. He's XYZ. When in reality, he's everything that she wants. But since they're not happy and they don't got what they want, because it's so much harder to find a mate for women, they'll sit there and try to tear her shit down. And that's like one of the, I tell girls, if you have a relationship, get rid of all your single friends. They're going to lead you astray.
Let me ask you, go ahead, Molly.
No, I was just going to ask, well, because I know Mika brought up the topic of being called a pick me. What do you do as a woman when you're being called a pick me by men for supporting men? Because I don't think that gets brought up.
Yeah, I think you should roast them and say, you should be honored that I'm even doing this, you dumbass. Like, I would literally tell, like, any guy that tries to shame you for actually being a woman. Like,
there's men in the chat that'll say it, especially if I support Anton. They hate that.
Yeah, and these guys are simps a lot of the times, like, because they don't understand. Because it's so, for a lot of guys, right? Them seeing a naturally submissive woman is like crazy to them, because a lot of women aren't anymore. Like, the average woman is, I'm independent, I'm strong, I could do everything a man could do. So when a lot of these guys that are younger, that are not used to seeing a naturally feminine woman, they'll see it and they'll be like, what is this? This is weird. Like, she's listening to a man. This is a foreign concept. Like, the whole concept of male authority has been killed over the past 30 to 40 years. So, like, younger guys, right, or simps, they don't understand that this is how women are actually supposed to behave. But since we've been indoctrinated with feminism so much and it's so ubiquitous in our society, guys don't even know how to respond to that. So, like, when guys are saying, oh, you're a pick me, tell him you're a bitch ass nigga, just straight up like that. That's what I would say.
No,
Well,
he's
one
right
time,
because
oh,
he's right because they do that a lot of the times, and they'll even do that if you just give your honest thoughts and opinions. And a person like me, where I grew up, where everybody is a housewife, everybody, they'll be like, "Oh, well, that's not the norm. That's not natural. That's not this. You must be a chameleon. You must be this." And so I see it just like Molly said on the female side and the male side. But I think it's feminism that has gone both ways. Like there are a lot of men that do, intertwine with feminism, even though they don't really say it.
So there's two. So the thing I think that's important is like to kind of understand that to make this make more sense. The two genders are calling you a pick me for different reasons.
Right.
So the women are calling you a pick me so that you no longer become a qualified potential to a man of status because men of status are screening for that, right? Women sabotage each other all the time. That's why they compete because what I've noticed with women is like it's a battle of the cerebral, right? And the surreptitious. And what I mean by that is they'll try to one up you by, and I'm sure all you ladies can attest to what I'm about to say. They'll one up you by trying to dress better than you. They'll one up you by trying to be prettier than you. You guys are going out to a function. It's a competition with who could look better, right? It's all about, okay, I'm going to be the prettier one so that I can go ahead and get the higher status males. So if you exude personality traits that higher status men look for, they're going to call you a pick me to disqualify you from the mating process. And it's a very evil thing that women do surreptitiously, of course, because women battle in the cerebral, right? Now, when men call you a pick me, it's one of two things. It's either they're a simp and just don't, they're a simp and they're used to like women that are more masculine and they're not used to seeing that. So that's how they respond. Or B, they're just retarded and they haven't seen that type of woman because they might be young. They're not familiar with this because feminine women is like rare to come by nowadays. Very difficult to find. So that's what I've realized the two genders do it. Men do it from a position of stupidity and naivety. Women do it from a more vicious perspective of trying to disqualify you from potentially higher status men that are literally screening for women that are compliant and submissive. Because hypermasculine men are very, how do I say this? They're very privy to women that are feminine because that is their opposite. That's what they're looking for. Just like women are hyper attracted to dominant, assertive, masculine men, men are very attracted to feminine, compliant women. And when women see you behave this way and they know deep down, it's almost like a defense mechanism. When they see you behave this way, that's their way of getting you to not be qualifiable to a higher status guy that's screening for that very femininity you're displaying.
Let me
well,
ask
when I
you.
learned about
I
the,
would,
oh,
I
go
would,
ahead.
Go ahead, Carrie. Go ahead, Carrie.
No, I was just gonna say when I learned about what a pick me was, because I didn't learn about it until Clubhouse came out and somebody called me that. I didn't even know to be offended. And once they explained to me what it was, I leaned into it because I was like, well, isn't the goal to be picked? And I got picked, so I'm cool with it. I just
And
leaned
the other
into the
thing too,
term.
it's such a foreign, especially in the black community, right? Don't want to make this a racial thing, but it does matter to a degree. In the black community, coming across feminine women that are actually black as well, it's like a novelty almost. Like it's not common because so many black women are kind of like taught to be independent of men, don't rely on a man or whatever, just from like, the culture and everything else like that. So when they do see a black woman that's submissive and feminine or whatever, it's like almost a culture shock to them. And then like you said, you're taken, you found a man. So boom, clearly it worked. Other people are going to try to sabotage you, but I look at it like a woman's biggest W isn't her title. It's, do you have a man that is committed to you and do you have a family? I think that's the biggest W for a woman. I put more value on a housewife than a career woman every single day. And I think we need to go back in a society where we prioritize and respect the women and cherish and protect the women that want to be mothers, not the women that want to be career, whatever. And here's my other thing, right? Because everyone says, oh, Myron, you're just anti-feminist. You hate working women. This is my thing. If women want to work, fine. I don't really have a problem with that. They want to enter education, cool. But we need to be honest with them and tell them this whole cold hard reality, right? And I'm going to tell my daughter this too. One day, if you decide to pursue a career and acquire status and excellence and resources, you are dwindling the potential pool of men that will want you. And not only are you dwindling them, you are making them less likely to want to be with you because they don't want to date themselves. So I always say when women become successful, doors close. When men become successful, doors open. So I would tell her to go into education and getting a job with her eyes wide open. I'll say, look, you go to school, but start looking for a husband while you're there. I had a very tough talk with my sister a couple of years ago, and I'll never forget this. She was about 27, studying to be a doctor. She was about to go into med school, and I knew kind of what was going from there. And I never forget this. We're in Brooklyn, we're sitting there, and I'm parking her car, parallel parking there, we're having a discussion. And I looked at her, I said, don't be a stupid bitch. Find a man now while you can. It's going to be harder for you when you become a doctor. Find a guy now. You're in school, maybe in med school. Find a guy now. As you get older, you won't be able to do this. And she got mad at me, and she looked at me like, oh, you're such a misogynist, you're such a chauvinist. But she took my advice, and she found a guy, and she got married to a guy that's an anesthesiologist, and she's doing her residency right now. But I warned her about this years before she got into her 30s to set herself up to understand maybe I need to start looking for a man too and not just focus on the books. And she found one. I'm happy. But I had to tell her she was a stupid bitch for her to wake up and realize, damn, this is do or die if I don't figure this out. I had to break through that loop because people tell women all the time, when are you going to have a family? Have some kids. I had to break through that loop and say, you're a dumb bitch. Find a guy now. You are not going to be able to find one when you become a doctor. You're cooked once you become a doctor.
Let me ask you one more question. First of all, let me give you your flowers because I appreciate you even coming here.
Bro, thank you for showing love on my stream, bro. I didn't forget that, so I had to come in. Thank you.
No, I think that we over time you just grow. I've grown personally myself and matured in a lot of ways to where I realize that I can't let other people put batteries in my back to ultimately feel some type of way about people that I've never even met before. So I had to go and check myself and then also observe some of your content in which I've learned a lot about you. And one of the things that I've learned about you, and I've actually given you a lot of props for it in your platform, is that you spend a lot of times, I know a lot of people spend a lot of time talking about your take on women and things like that. But one of the things that you guys don't get a lot of credit for is all of the game that you give and all of the encouragement that you give to a lot of guys on finances, resources, leveling up, fitness, all of these things. So first of all, I want to give you your flowers for that because I think that a lot of times we don't give people their flowers in real time. And people are so quick to react to things that they think is salacious instead of observing a whole picture. And so, first of all, I want to give you your flowers from that.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. And we need you in Miami to do a show, bro. When you get it, whenever you're down here.
Absolutely, 100%. The second thing that I want to ask you is just a personal question about you. Personally.
Sure.
Do you ever plan on getting married? And if so, what would that look like?
Fantastic question. I get this often. It's still the way I'm going to do it is going to be a bit unorthodox, but I think number one, the nuclear family is the backbone of any society. We need it. It's very important. You know, I think the destruction of nuclear families was set blacks back a lot because during the civil rights era, we had more families and we're more successful despite the fact that we had the most segregation, the most racism, and the most oppression, right? So that goes to show how powerful the nuclear family is. Number two, when I do decide to get married, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to involve the state. And the reason why I would get married is solely for kids, to create that environment where, you know, the child is like, oh, mom and dad are together and they're, you know, they have a conventional relationship to a degree where there's a marriage. I just wouldn't do it with the state because I do think marriage is important for a family. But just the way we go about it today is extremely dangerous and, you know, problematic for men because we put so much on the line and women literally are incentivized to divorce us, especially if you got some money.
That's fair. Does anybody else have any comments or questions for Myron before we go ahead and wrap up the show?
And I didn't mean to come in here and take all the thunder, guys, man.
No. I like to extend the platform. We on here regularly. So the people that you see here right now, it's not uncommon for us to be here on a regular basis. But
okay.
I always like to give the floor, you know what I'm saying, to you, and then we chime in because, you know, it's not a normal thing that we get somebody in here to where we actually respect enough to actually, you know what I'm saying, hear them cook and let them get here.
And I do want to give the ladies on the panel a degree, like a huge amount of support and love. Because like usually when I say these talking points, a lot of women like, oh my God, this guy is crazy, blah, blah, blah. And I've noticed that you guys have actually been intently listening to everything I've been saying. And I do appreciate that because most women just get triggered and go off the rails. But for you guys allowing me to give my points and kind of expanding on it, it makes a lot more sense. When I say it originally, it's shocking. But then when I explain, hey, this is how I came to this conclusion, you know, and people afford me that opportunity, a lot of times they end up agreeing with me.
Anton knows how to pick his women.
Well, I agree for two reasons. Words themselves are not like inherently offensive. Like you're offended because you believe it to be true. So you can talk all you want about Black women. If it doesn't apply to me, there's no reason for me to be offended. And then Quentin will tell you
I wish black women had that mindset that you have. It's like they look at it as like, oh, you're making general statements. It doesn't apply to me. I'm high IQ enough to realize like you're not talking about me. So whatever.
But they're looking from the emotional standpoint because most women are emotional. But you could have enough logic to say, okay, well, he's not. It doesn't apply to me, and you can have enough logic to look outside of yourself and say, yeah, most do act like that. And then a lot of women act, like they're offended by vulgar language.
I think that a lot of people want people to push back for the sake of pushing back, but you can have a difference of opinion in somebody, but sometimes you align with what it is that they're saying. If you understand what they're saying and they making valid points, it's not always necessary to push back just for the sake of pushing back. You know what I'm saying? So I don't understand the whole hey, you guys got to push back thing. I don't subscribe to that. I just think that when people are cooking, then you give them the floor and you let them do their thing. I don't understand that. So
yeah, I mean, I'll give you guys an example, right? So I am very critical of when it comes to politics, and I'd use this example just because it makes sense and it can kind of explain the difference. I'm very critical of Israel. I have made a lot of comments on the state. I have my political grievances, whatever. But I do have friends and colleagues that are hardcore Zionists. And though this should be a dividing line where we should never be talking to each other, we should literally hate each other. I do think it's important you don't have to be great friends with them, but I do think it's important to have people in your circle or your realm of influence that oppose your views, because it kind of keeps you sharp when you have a discussion with them. It keeps you on your P's and Q's. So I think not just from a networking perspective, but I think just being able to agree to disagree is a very adult thing to do that's kind of missing from society. So yeah, it's something that's really important. A lot many people have.
well, listen, I appreciate you for coming through.
No, thank you for having me, bro.
It's been a great stream, and then to have you, top it off with your insight and information. Again, I don't think that people get enough credit, and I'm gonna give you your flowers right now. I think that you dope, bro, and I absolutely love. I'm not even so much into the content. I know that there's an audience for the conversations when it comes to relationships, but the stuff that I really value that you've been tapping into is the Fed React stuff.
Oh, thank you, bro.
Yeah, the Fed React stuff is really great. And the conversations that you have about leveling up and the different guests that you bring on that speak on money situations.
I mean, I see you putting people on with money and stuff like that too. And I think it's really important, right? Because a lot of guys in this space will just shit on women all day, right? Oh, women this, women that, blah, blah, blah. But like, they're not going to do what's required. So like for me, I looked at it like, okay, look, we got problems with dating. Yes. Feminism sucks. Yes. So what does that mean? You can't be an average guy anymore. As I was describing before, you got to be above average. You need to be in a position where you're a provider. My advice I always tell guys is, yo, make enough money to the point where if you have a woman, she can tell her boss at any time to fuck off. I don't even think she should work. But I do think like as a man, it's your duty to either A, your woman doesn't have to work, or B, if she does decide to work, at any point she could say, F you to the boss and I don't need you. And I think that level of security is what every man kind of needs to strive to have for their girl. I'm against women entering the workforce, I think, especially when they have kids. But if y'all both don't have kids, she wants to work, make some money on the side, she wants to not be, have a hobby, whatever, that's cool. But I think she should still have the wiggle room to tell her boss to F off whenever she wants. I think that's your duty as a man.
Facts.
I agree. And
that's why I got to teach them how to make money. So I definitely see you doing that as well for the guys and not just making a red pill echo chamber. Rather, let me help y'all make money so you guys can be in a better position. And that's how we landed this conversation in the first place with Paul Pierce. All he's saying is now dude's got choice.
I agree 100%. Well, I guess that's it. So Myron, I appreciate you for coming through. Thank you, my friend. I don't want to hold you here just so I can.
Nah, no worries, bro. I'll hit you on Twitter and we'll set some up. In the future, I'll come in a more formal fashion so we can plan it out and announce it. But I just saw you kind of live, and I was like, let me come in here and say what up, bro. Show some love.
Man, I appreciate you for coming through, my friend. Yeah, I'll set something up.
Pleasure to meet you two ladies. And thank you guys for being such good,
you did good. You cooked.
Like I don't like. I give y'all the ladies one more, a flower. So I've interviewed like 3,500 women on my show, right? And one of the biggest obstacles.
Really? Has it been that many?
Bro, it's crazy, man. I'm like a black belt with females. It's wild. Like I know what, bro. I feel like Mr. Miyagi. Like I know what they're gonna say before they even say it. I'm like literally wax off every time, like blocking attacks. But one thing, right? When I talk to women, that's been a very interesting thing that never kind of evaporates, no matter the girl's status, money, or her religious background, cultural background, is there's this level where if you say things that are controversial, they can't like just sit, listen, finish, let you hear say the whole point. It's like their solipsism almost gets in the way. And the way you guys have been able to kind of like listen, but let me hear this out, not interject, and like be able to be like, I see your perspective. That's rare. I almost never experienced that with women. So thank you for that, ladies.
Thank you.
Anton's taught you guys well, since it seems like you guys are kind of regular on the panel.
If you only knew.
Probably took him years to get to this point, but hey, bro, I'm here to tell you did a fucking crazy job, man. I'm legitimately impressed.
These my girls. These are my dogs. I love them. So. All right, y'all. Well, let me read some of the super chats. Thank you, Myron. I appreciate you, bro.
All right, man. Take it easy, guys.
All right.
Oh, Anton, real quick, shout out your stuff. Where can the people find you?
Who, me?
Yeah, because I'm actually streaming right now too, so I want them to be able to find you.
They can. I mean, you could just put me in Google or YouTube, Anton Daniels, and it's on every platform. The Millionaire Morning Show, After Hours, Anton Daniels, all of that stuff. So,
boom. All right, bro. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you, bro.
Anytime, man. Y'all have a good night.
You too, both.
Right,
Peace.